Just before we get started, I'd just like to remind you that I do have an email subscription list. The link for the list is in the description to this video. It's also on my websites, russleach.com and comicbookblackbelt.com, and also over at onlydeathcansavus.com. That's the title of my new book. It's a Bronze Age inspired cosmic fantasy romp. So if you like the way comics used to be, full of fun and action, check it out and sign up for the email subscription list. Thanks very much for listening, and now on with the video. Hi there, welcome back to the dojo. This is the final video. This is the debrief video for the whole project of Only Death Can Save Us Book 1. So I've made some notes and I thought I'd go through them for the video. This is really for anyone who's interested in producing their own projects, doing a crowdfund campaign, getting themselves out there. So this is not a tutorial video. This is not how to do this. This is simply a log of my experience doing what I'm doing. It's worth saying and noting that this is the first time I've ever done a crowdfund campaign on my own. I have been involved in others, but this is mine and solely mine. As much as I got some help with writing and obviously with editing, the art, production and the original story concept and writing was all down to me, one person. So as much as I understand about how teams work and have been involved with teams on projects many times, and indeed run teams on projects, that was not how this project went down. But it's still valid to know all those things. As a whole, for the whole project, I'm extremely pleased. We're sitting here now at the 16th of May, and I'm inching very close to £10,000 for the whole project. I won't say too much about the finances, because obviously that's not something you talk a lot about, but I would say that I've been able to use a fair lump as part of production costs, as part of funding the production. So some people might call that profit, I suppose. I don't personally call it profit. There is no profit because it's all about getting the book produced. Certainly if I'd have had more people on the production team, I would not have seen any of the money. But it did go towards producing the book, and overall I'm extremely happy for a first time out to hit that, nearly 10k in Great British pounds. We're close to I think $14,000 US dollars. So I'm very pleased with the way it's come out. I've got currently 235 backers. I'm hoping to increase that for the next outing on book 2. But I think just as a comment about the whole thing, I'm very proud of what I've done. Very pleased with the outcome of the book, in specifically the way the book looks, what people have said about it, how it reads, just the whole thing. Everything has come out way beyond my expectations. I've managed to do a lot more with the first time out than I thought I would be able to, right down to being asked to have the book serialized for Arrow Comics later on this year and early next year. So we'll see where that goes. I'm very keen to express and explain just how important backers are with crowdfunding, that they're there on the journey with you, that they really are almost part of the team, and what they get back in reward for supporting you and backing the book is not just that interaction with the project and feeling like they're part of it, but also they get the VIP experience as far as the book is concerned. So on the subject of me serializing the books out in the wider market, obviously the stories are out there for other people to get and they're in smaller chunks, but the book itself is printed once, and it's printed to a very high standard, I think, for print, and also the extras that you get with it. There is exclusive content in it, and those things won't be put into the floppies that are redistributed via Arrow and Liberty distribution, and also via the direct market. So I think there's a great product there for both audiences. You can give that VIP experience as far as the book is concerned over to your backers, the people that come with you, your audience, the people that interact with you on a regular basis. I'll talk more about that from my notes. And then you also get that opportunity, and they also share in that opportunity to take that brand, the IP, the content, the story to a wider audience, and so share that out with other people. But again, the core of it being that your backers get the best version, and that's their reward for coming along with you and believing in you and supporting you. So all that said, I'm just going to run through these notes. Like I said, this is my first time out crowdfunding. It's not my first time out on producing my own work or producing books in general, but I think that the experiences that I've had could well be useful to other people. And like I say, this is in no way meant to be any kind of tutorial, and it actually in no way could you really call it a comprehensive rundown of all the aspects that go into a crowdfunding campaign, and going into you know new IP production, comic book production, all that kind of thing. But it is a set of notes about my experience, and hopefully that will be useful to people that are watching it. So I'll start. I'll just run through my notes. I'm being as transparent here as possible. So there's nothing slick about this. Just me effectively pouring it out to anybody who thinks it might be of use or wants to listen. So I think what's important about the actual content. So rather than the campaign, I'll go straight in on the ideas, the comic book itself, the production of the comic book. I think you should have a fully fledged idea. Don't start any production whatsoever until you've got the idea straight in your head. Now, whether that's between you and a co-writer, or just you on your own, whatever it might be, get the idea right, and give yourself time to write a decent script and rewrite that script. Get editorial help. Even if that just starts off as you getting your script out to multiple other people that you trust. Not necessarily editors, just other people that you trust that will give you good, solid feedback as to whether the story makes sense to them, whether they feel a connection with the characters, just spelling, grammar, that kind of thing. Any kind of support or help you can get from anybody, get that script out to the people and have a few people beta read it for you. But do get editorial help if there's any way you can at all. Do that, because it will make a difference from the word go, from your very first concept as far as writing a script and getting that seen and read by people who will understand how stories are constructed, right the way through to the end, where making sense of the way the story beats work, whether panels are working correctly, spelling, grammar, all those things are hugely important, and it will lessen the final experience for your audience if you don't get those things right. Do create pre-production designs. I've got a video looping off on here where you can see some of the production that was put together and some of the concepts. I know it takes time, but it really is important to get your designs right and to get your concepts correct in your own head, and get yourself straight. Okay, get it right, but be focused. And the only way to get these things done really is to pull your finger out and get on and do it. So as much as like I'm saying, make sure and have those things done and ready before you move to the next stage. Do get on with it, because if you don't do it, nobody will do it for you. Look at the market. Okay, are you just rehashing what is already out there? Okay, You can suggest that there are no more original ideas, and I would say that you look at Only Death Can Save Us, and you could probably pick lots of stuff out that isn't original about it, truly original. For a start, it's a hero's journey, so you know this is ancient mythology in some ways. It's the way that stories are told, but it's not just about that. It's the presentation of that. So I'm standing on the shoulders of giants. I have my own inspirations, like Jack Kirby and John Buscema as far as art is concerned, you know, like the old Stan Lee, Jim Starlin very much as far as the kind of stories that I love, but all that kind of Bronze Age stuff. But it's how do you repurpose it? How do you make it so that it's you, so that it's yours, so that it's a unique approach? Your version of whatever you're doing is unique enough that people are prepared to accept that there is no originality left. It's a matter of how you put it together. So if you can be original in your approach and your delivery, that's what really counts. But do try and find some originality somewhere. Do try and find your USP. Okay, what makes your story, your presentation, whatever it might be, what makes you stand out from the crowd. So do spend some time thinking about what that is. For me, it was very much that there aren't a lot of people that are doing this kind of Bronze Age kind of style. So that was a very stylistic thing, very visual thing. But also, I wanted to make an all ages book, and there aren't that many all ages books around. So that was my USP, all ages, Bronze Age inspired stuff. After that, you just got to put your best work in. So secure your team. So as far as production is concerned, I did mention this earlier, make sure you get your team secured. It's okay to overshoot. I mean, especially if you're talking about crowdfunding campaigns, because you don't have to start your crowdfunding campaign straight away. You should be organising yourself, getting work together before you start that campaign. So that means that you can stretch schedules, but do write them down, do schedule yourself, do make a plan for how to put a book together, and do get your team together and make sure that you can work with them. Contracts if required. It's always handy to do that. But especially if this is more than just... If you're coming together and saying, we'll split the profits, then you can have an agreement. So you can put an agreement together of how that will work. But if you're going to be paying money out to other people to produce the work, then you really need a contract in place so that they bring the work to you at a specific time for a specific price, and make sure you nail that down. Right, moving on beyond production and concepts and that kind of stuff, going into a campaign. These aren't necessarily in order, they're just my ramblings. So I'll read them out, but be available and be transparent and communicate well before you start any campaign. That you are a serious creator and that you're there to entertain an audience. Be professional at all times and be honest. By being honest and open and transparent, it will bring you a lot of support. We've seen lots of people in the indie world, some big names, producing fantastically supported YouTube channels, or having huge numbers of people follow them on Twitter, whatever. They already have ready-made followings before they go to the book. Now that's one way of doing it. Okay, the other way of doing it is just being there, being available, and getting yourself about. There are lots of independent channels on YouTube and all kinds of different places and podcasts and what have you. Get yourself about. Talk to people. It's really important that as an indie creator that you talk to other indie creators anyway, but also get yourself out to as many different audiences as you can. Be involved. Get out there to different groups. I know it's time consuming and you're not going to be able to do it all, but make the effort. Okay, make the effort to be as transparent as possible to your potential audiences, and to be as honest about your work as you possibly can be. Research. Yeah. Everything from post-production, packaging costs, approximations for postage, additional art, printing costs. Go and research that. Any campaign requires you to make sure you get your numbers right. Okay, so go and do that. And there's plenty of other people. I mean, if anybody wants to ask me about my experiences, about the data that I've collected on, on post or packaging or printing, or, how I put my artwork together, whatever, I'm always open. And lots of other indie creators will be open as well to just chat and give you information. So go and find out, ask questions, always be polite, always be professional. But research everything, okay? From all the silly little costs all the way up, because it's amazing how easy it is for you to get caught out. Don't start a campaign too early. Like I was saying before, get out there and let people know. So you don't necessarily have to have your own YouTube channel. It is handy, okay? But you do need to have an online persona. You need to have a place where people can come find you. Twitter, Facebook, your own website, YouTube. YouTube is really good at the moment. The great thing about YouTube is it's akin to the way that back in the day, sort of 60s, 70s, 80s, there used to be letters pages in comic books, and there was this interaction between audience and editorial, and even better from YouTube, because people can see the white, see your eyes, and you can't make it up on YouTube. They can see what you're like. I mean, I'm stuttering and I'm blithering my way through this. People can see me as honest, okay, and they can accept that what I'm saying is what I believe, okay, and that's really important. So you don't necessarily need your own YouTube channel, but YouTube channels are great, and certainly, surfing those other people's channels, other creators' channels, other content providers' channels, podcasts, getting on to organised groups, that kind of thing. Very, very important. So get yourself out there, but don't start your campaign too early until people know who you are and what you're about. So, and that's it, and people can see that you've put in time and effort before you're asking them to give you money to produce your book. Make the time between, if this is at all possible, and I understand what crowdfunding is all about. It's about providing you with the money so you can go away and produce the book. But this is a maturing and certainly a fast-moving environment. And although it is not, crowdfunding sites, Kickstarter and Indiegogo, they are not shop fronts. But the people that back your books, for the vast majority of the time, probably feel like consumers. And so the shorter the time from you starting your campaign to fulfilling it is only advantageous to both you and your audience, your customers, whatever you want to call them. So, for instance, I started my campaign last year in September, 1st of September, and by the end of January, all the books had been sent out to everybody. Now, I'd like to actually reduce that time, but you can only really reduce your times by having the appropriate schedule, making sure you've got a team nailed down, all that kind of stuff. But that's what I intend to do. I can't this year because I've had success and I've been able to get those books out to other people via Arrow, but also because I'm working with other creators to produce other books. So I've had to store that up as far as I wanted to do a book early in the summer, but it's had to go all the way around to September 2021. But then that does mean that everybody will be getting their book in January 20, or it'll be sent out to everybody January 2022. So I'll be producing the book in exactly the same time limit, only this time I'll have to get other people in for the production, and actually the actual production of the book will be shorter than it was last year, probably by about a month or so, maybe 2 months, simply because I'm getting other people involved in the production process. That will inevitably end up being a process whereby I would be able to make it so that I could maybe do 2 books a year instead of 1 book a year, okay, depending on other work. But the whole point being is that the more you can condense that time between it, the campaign starting, finishing, and then fulfillment, the better. It's gonna build trust in whoever you manage to get your book out to. Where are we also, by the way? Yeah, so fulfillment. Okay, so at the other end of the process, when you actually get those books out to people, be prepared for the occasional loss or even a customer mistake. I've had a couple of people that have come back to me and said, "Look, I'm really sorry that the address was wrong." Now, technically, I should charge them again for their postage. That's not good business. Doesn't make any sense whatsoever. I can just say, "Look, don't worry about it. I'll eat the cost on that. That's not a problem." If you do that, if you give that, that's all about that sort of customer response and experience. If that's building even more trust with them, they're more likely to come back and get the second and the third book because they feel like they've not been penalised in any way for making a small mistake. It's one of those things. It only happens very, very rarely. Make sure that, and this goes to a bigger point. Make sure in your research, as I said earlier, that you get your figures right. Don't make your goal too small. Okay, if this is a proper business for you, then be realistic about the goal. Okay, if you don't make it, then you don't make it. It's like talking about business, and people say, "Oh, I can't possibly run my business if I need to pay my workers' wages to this level." And it's like, well, it's not a business then. You have to pay for the bits and pieces that go into making whatever you're going to make, and you have to pay the people that are making it proper wages. If you can't, then it's not a viable business. And it's the same with goals, campaign goals. I understand the thought process of if the lower you make it, the better it looks, the more likely you are to hit the campaign total. But I still think you need to be realistic about the actual full total, and that you know that you're aware of things like postage and what have you, and that you don't make it too low that you end up doing the whole book for very little money. You've got to make it viable. Okay, you have to make it a viable business proposition to yourself, let alone to your potential customers, and that comes down to you then making it, when we talk about earlier on about what's your USP, what's your unique selling position, what makes people want to buy your book, you've got to make that happen, and you have to be realistic about that whole thing being part of your business, the viability of the business, the viability of the project as a business proposition. So, get your USP, make sure that you are something that people want to buy, but also that you're not making your target too low that it doesn't, even if you were to make the target, it would be very hard to then make the project fulfill properly. So, very important to get that right, I think. If you're going to produce a trailer, I produced a couple of trailers. I produced the first one was a short trailer, and I made some errors on the sound of that, and I thought it sounded fine, but a lot of other people weren't hearing it the same way as I was. And the other thing is, a lot of these trailers get reused on other people's streams, shows, whatever, and a lot of the time being played live, some of the sound misses, so some of the quality is missed, so you have to have clarity of sound and clarity of purpose within your trailer. Make a short trailer, make it under a minute, definitely, and make it about the product. Do not make it about yourselves. Okay, it's okay to put in my view, it's okay to put in a video about, "Oh, I love comics, I do this is my friend, and we're working together, and we're hopefully going to get this, and this is how crazy we are, and we sit on sofas and draw comics and all that." That's great, fine, brilliant. Tell people about yourself, and that's really good because people want to know. All right, but at the same time, the first thing people want to know is, what am I putting my money down on the table for? So I think I have seen some very clever videos that have combined the two, and that's fine. And again, they were concise and they went straight to it, even though they were talking a little bit about the creators as well at the same time. They still managed to get straight to it. But what's most important is to get that message across. So a short trailer, and then maybe back it up with longer trailers that further down the campaign trail. Make it clear and concise. Bearing that in mind, when you're on the campaign, when you're on your crowdfund campaign and you're out there and you're showing yourself off and you're trying to sell your book and get people excited about what you're producing, you won't have as much time for production. So bear that in mind in your schedule. Bear that in mind that you won't physically, literally won't have as much time on any production that you're doing whilst you're on the campaign trail. Okay. Create a brand for yourself. So that kind of fits in. Like I say, there's no order to any of these. Make sure you do have a brand for yourself. So even if you don't have your own YouTube channel, which I suggest you do, at the very least to show people, if you're a creator, to show people how you create. People are interested in what you want to do. They might not sit there through every video or through to the end of a video, but they're interested in how these things are put together. Give yourself a brand. So make sure you're out there on all the social medias, and get yourself an email list, not just the one that's the pre-campaign page on Indiegogo. I think Kickstarter have got one now as well. Not just that. You can get over to MailChimp or something like that, and for the numbers that we're talking about, it's free. And get yourself an email list. Get yourself a website if you possibly can, and an email list. And then you can take those names and you can put them on the email list later after the campaign has been produced. I don't think there's any issue with that because you're already on a list because you've agreed to be on that list. So I could be wrong, but like I say, I'm not giving out advice here. I'm just giving out my impressions of what happened. But definitely an email list, and definitely my personal view is get yourself the very least a Facebook page or a Twitter profile, whatever, for the product. So I have my own website for Only Death Can Save Us. I also have a Facebook page for Only Death Can Save Us. And it means that people have a place to go just for the book. Not for me, just for the book. I have a brand now, Comic Book Black Belt. It may be, in some ways I'm concerned it might be a little bit confusing because of my Russ Leach, my Comic Book Black Belt, whatever. But as long as you're clear about how people can get to you, so people can get to me via russleach.com or comicbookblackbelt.com, it takes you to exactly the same website. So there's no variation on the brand there. So just to make sure that people understand who you are, what you're about, and that you're there and approachable and accessible at all times. But I do think having a website for the book itself, for the actual property itself, is a very good idea. Unless, of course, you're going to be some kind of publisher for yourself that you might have multiple titles, then you've obviously got one place where people can come and see those titles in kind of like a library environment. Whilst on the campaign, do communicate with your backers. I haven't communicated for a little bit, but then the campaign is over. It's in demand. People have got everything that they need. There isn't any more news per se, except that the in-demand shop will be closing down soon. So utilise your email list and the delivery system like MailChimp does, and get that information out to people. And definitely use the updates within Indiegogo and Kickstarter and what have you. So yeah, just make sure and communicate. Personally, I would always use the in-demand function. I have definitely had an increase. I would say I've had 25% of my total funds in demand so far. So I'm very, very pleased with that. I probably haven't pushed as hard as I should have done, but that's because I've been working on everything else I've been doing. I've now got gigs for other people, for other productions. But definitely use the in-demand. Mine will be closing down at the end of June. So for anybody who is watching, who's thinking of buying the book, you can get it to the end of June. If you want to wait for book 2, there will be some available for book 2. But the effectively the books that I printed, as I suggested earlier, that VIP, that special thing that people get for backing the book, They ain't going to be printed again in that format. They're unique. There are no others. I printed 400 books up. I've had 235. There are some sent out, so I should have about 120 or 130 left at the moment. So that's still available in demand. You can still go and get them, and whatever's left for the second campaign will be available for people to buy as catch-ups if they want to. But that's it. Make sure that it's special for your campaign, and special for your audience and your backers. But definitely leave it up in demand. I would every time. But I think what's something that you can do by using in demand is you can have your 30 days. We'll know that how Indiegogo works as far as playing the system. You have your 30 days and then you extend it for another 60 days. Everybody knows you're going to do a 60-day campaign, but it helps get you up the lists, and also it helps work out some. It encourages information and attention to the campaign. So you get your 30 and your 60 days. You close out at the end of the 60 days. I would suggest making a big deal about closing out in demand. So I'm going to go on the trail again in a couple of weeks' time. Go around and see a few people, get on some streams, make a deal about it on my YouTube channel or over with Outliers with Joe Fulton. But also send out some information via the updates, via my email list to say, look, this is it, it's closing out, and make a deal about it closing out at the end of your in-demand process as well. If at all possible, do get your book reviewed. Send books out, it costs you money. I've sent physical copies to reviewers, okay? And it really is very good to get those reviews, because it means that you can direct new customers, new backers over to those reviews and say, look, this is what people are saying about it already. I've got fan art is fantastic as well. If people do fan art of your work, put it up on your website. Show people or show potential customers, potential backers, your potential audience, that other people are already excited about your work. They're already excited about your creation, so much so that they're drawing their own pictures. That's really important. Then on top of that, if you get any kind of responses via social media, via your email, whatever it is, post those as well. Post the fact that people are saying, look, this book is great, I'm really enjoying it. And then also obviously post up reviews. If you've got official reviews on other people's websites, post them up. Definitely do that, and it helps create a buzz about the content, about the book. So I think, like I say, this is in no way a comprehensive list. It's just my experiences about the campaign, about the production of the book, the interaction with the other creators and streamers and an audience alike, and how that's worked out for me in this particular case. So to back all this up, I can now say, as I mentioned earlier, obviously book 2 is in production. Rick, the writer, is more involved this time because I needed to offload some of the heavy lifting. So Rick has already put together an outline plot for me, which is based on my original notes. So this is a co-written production, so we're still getting my vision of what should be going on, and later on in the process I also have a flatter, and I'll be getting a letterer as well. So I'm going to be condensing my time spent on the production of the book, but obviously at its core it's all still me, and of course the artwork is all me, and the like I say, the outline for the story as well. So it's still got my vision. We're still working in that way. I'm just fine-tuning the way the production is put together. I'm just going to go through these notes. I'm reading off the screen. I'm currently working right now, as of start of May. I'm currently working with Joe Fulton. And you can find me streaming with Joe on a Thursday. It's Thursday morning in the States. On Fulton Land, that's his channel. And we talk about all things comics. So we talk about the industry. We talk about people's view of the industry. We talk about audience participation. We talk about the importance of how you approach comics and what they mean to people. So it's in depth, but it's fun as well. But there you can also find out about the Outliers, which is the project that I'm currently on, and you can see more artwork from them. You will see more artwork from the Outliers on this channel, because I'll be live streaming some of it, but I'll also be throwing up production videos because Joe would like to see more of that as well. As I mentioned earlier, Arrow are now my publisher, so you will be able to get the serialization of Only Death Can Save Us, which will have some extra bits and pieces in because Arrow came to me late in the production. So in book 2, it has already been written with serialization in mind. So there are no extras being put in as far as having to add stuff in so that it can go to a floppy once every month or every other month. But the first book wasn't written in that way because I just wasn't aware of that. So I've had to add in some bits and pieces. But what will be happening is in book 2, everybody that backs book 2 will be getting all of those extra bits and pieces for free. It will all be thrown into book 2 so that you can see all the extras and how book 1 was serialized, and how that's working and moving forward. So like I say, you can get those reprints. I'm now with Arrow, but the crowdfunding books will continue because, as I mentioned earlier on, I want to give my backers that special connection. I want them to have the best book that they can get, and also I want to have a place where I can produce the premium of content for Only Death Can Save Us, and that will continue through book 3, and we even have an arc for book 4, 5 and 6, and again that same process will continue all the way through. Yeah, that's effectively what I've been noted down there. Just the business model of having a VIP, exclusive top content in the back for the backers in the campaigns, in the crowdfunding campaigns, and then for it to be spread out via serialization to the direct market after that. I think that's a great compromise between the two sets of between the two business processes of getting the books out to people. I think it gives both audiences what they're really after, and who doesn't want to see more Only Death Can Save Us? Of course, get it out there. So right. So in conclusion, just I've written down a couple of notes here about what I think is probably the most important points. Be passionate about your project. I know that sounds really silly. Why wouldn't you be passionate about your project? Some people there are some creators that you think, no, come on, pull your finger out. Do you want this to work or don't you? Do you want people to be part of this story? Do you want people to interact and for you to get your story to them? And to also, build a business and make money. Of course you do. Be passionate about it. Let them know. Let people know just how passionate you are. Let them know how passionate you are about the medium. Okay, because that's what we're all here for, comics. So be passionate. Have a brand. Make sure you're recognisable. That people know what you're about. The kind of style you might have. Where they can get hold of you. Be accessible and available and visible to your potential audience at all times. Okay, so have the website, have the social media profiles, give people a way to contact you, to talk to you. YouTube, I think, is great, like I say, because you can see the whites of people's eyes, and it's very difficult for people to be dishonest. Have a mailing list. I'll throw that out there. Have a mailing list. Organise yourself and your schedule. Discipline. Do your research. Make sure you have a schedule. Make sure you have contracts in place if you need them. Get things done on time. It's if things are late, if things work out that life gets in the way or whatever, fine, reschedule. Make sure you have a plan all the time, okay? And just make a great book. Do the best possible book you can. Make it the pen. Every time you go out there and put pencil to paper, whether that's to write, whether that's to colour, whether that's to pencil or ink, whatever it might be, make that moment the best moment, okay? Now, realistically, if you're knocking out pages, day after day after day, there are always going to be slow pages. There are always going to be pages that aren't the best pages in that book. But make sure they're the best slow page you've ever done. Make sure they're the best page that isn't as exciting as the rest of the book that you've ever done. Okay? Make it happen. Believe in yourself. Believe in your product. Believe in your story. And be passionate about it. And get it out there. Be visible. Be available. And most of all, be professional. Be polite. Okay? If you haven't got a good word to say about someone or something, don't say it. Okay, we can all complain a little bit and we can all give our opinions, but don't attack anyone specifically. I just don't see that as a good way to be. All right, and just be focused on your own stuff and make sure that other people know it's there. If any of you are out there with families, partners, whatever, that support you, appreciate them. Okay. Because it's so important to have a supportive network as an indie artist, or as a freelancer in general. So if they are that kind of supportive support net, be appreciative of it. Make sure you tell them that you're appreciative of it. So that's me. I've babbled on for quite too long. I think hopefully you'll find something in here that's of use. And you'll be able to take that to your campaign, your project, whatever that might be. I've had an absolute blast doing Only Death Can Save Us. He is, the whole roster of characters are here to stay. Thank you, Randy Zimmerman, for taking me on to Arrow Comics and reproducing Only Death Can Save Us for the direct market and for other places that we'll tell you about at a later date. And most importantly of all, thank you to all my backers and supporters, all the people that have said kind words about the book, that have reviewed it, just anybody that's got themselves a copy. To those people that helped me along the way, that like the artists that were involved in it, Renzo and I've got to blank now. Mike, that's it. Mike, Renzo, Mike, and Amrit, that's the one. Those guys, thank you for being involved in it. Thank you to Rick as well, and to Tim. Get yourself an editor. So just a few thank yous at the end, because this is the final video on the first book. It was great. I had great fun. I learned a bucket load of stuff. You will too. Just make sure you do take notice of the things that you do learn. Okay, take them into that next book. Move on to that next project. Make sure that you're professional. Make sure that you support your teammates, and make sure that you thank your backers and that you're appreciative of them, and give them the best book you can, and make sure it gets there in good order. Okay, and they will come back for another book. So I think that's just about it. I blathered on long enough. Thank you so much for watching. If you're already subscribed, thank you, truly. Thank you for subscribing to the channel. I promise there will be more work out soon, more videos out soon. You can get me on a Monday night or Monday evening in the States, where I've just started doing Enter the Dojo, and that's where I'll be doing live stuff. So whether it's digital, whether it's traditional, I'll just be drawing and producing comic book art, and you can come see. Some of that will be outliers, some of it will be Only Death Can Save Us, some of it will just be some freelance work that I've got, and you can just watch over my shoulder while I'm doing that. BB Black Dog music will be in the background. Thank you, BB Black Dog. they're a great band. I did some work for them, and I use their music while I'm working. So you can see me on a Monday night there. You can see me on a Thursday over at Fulton Land with Joe Fulton. Find out more about Outliers Comics and the Outliers comic. You can see me on Indie Vault quite a bit. I go on and say hi to their to the guys there and spend some time. I'm not on there usually on a Sunday and a Thursday as well during the day. A lot of the time I can work while I'm talking on there. They have some great guests. They have some great content, and they are truly about anything indie. They're totally open-minded and really great people. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Twitter. There's some links sitting on the screen now. You can also find me at russleach.com, at comicbookblackbelt.com, and obviously you can still find out about the book Only Death Can Save Us at onlydeathcansavus.com, soon to be at arrowcomics.com as well once they sort their website out. And right now, as of this moment, you can still get yourself a copy of the book. And they won't be reprinted, so you can still get a copy now. If you want to wait until book 2, that's fine. You can wait till book 2 and get 2 books at once. I don't know if there'll be any left for the campaign on book 3, but you never know. But if you want a copy, get yourself a copy now. So once again, thanks to everyone who's been watching. Thanks if you've subscribed. If you haven't, please do subscribe, like, share. Sharing the video is always great. Sorry I've gone on for a little bit, but this is important stuff, and I just wanted to kind of get it out so that other people would be able to benefit from it if there is anything for anyone to benefit from there, and also as a way of finishing off the whole series of making a graphic novel that I put together for the Only Death Can Save Us series. So I'll be back again soon, like I say, with live streaming on the art. There will be a second graphic novel, so I'll be back doing some more about Only Death Can Save Us Book 2 at some point in the near future, and hopefully I'll see you around the internet and back at this channel at some time soon. Thanks very much for watching. I've been Comic Book Black Belt, and I'll be back in the dojo again real soon. Thanks. Bye-bye. Thanks for watching Comic Book Black Belt. If you've enjoyed the content from this video, please like, share or subscribe, and come over and follow me on Twitter. It's been great having you in the dojo. See you again soon.